Hi, I'm Dan Cox. I'm here with Andrea Lee. Andrea, how are you doing? You look great tonight, by the way. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing good, actually. Doing very good.
How
Happy to be.
I have to ask you, how is the weather? You live in an area that pretty close to where I grew up in Louisiana. How's the weather over there?
It's actually been raining. It's been pouring down, so it's been pretty nasty past couple days.
But we're getting close to summer, so that has to
Getting
feel good.
summer. They
Yeah.
say it's supposed to be nasty for the rest of the month, but I'm hoping we have some pretty good days between, all the bad.
Yeah. Well, they always say that. I don't ever believe the weatherman, honestly. But but I have
Yeah.
listen. You've got a fight coming up, and it's not mixed martial arts. It's a pure strikers fight, and
Yes.
I mean you are a striker. You had a fight with Sin, and you dominated that fight with your striking. Where did first of all, what is this fight coming up? What can you say about the fight, your opponent, how you're feeling physically, everything on that aspect?
Well, the fight that's coming up, it's a kickboxing match, and it's for Legacy. It will be aired on Access Television for those of you that want to tune in, and if you have that channel, you could watch it. Um, I'm fighting a girl named Lindsey Marino. She's top 10 in the world, so it's going to be a tough fight. I feel strong for this. I feel very strong, and I feel like my technique has improved a lot since my fight with Shannon and since my fight with Roxanne. So I'm feeling pretty confident about this. She's an inch or two taller than I am, but she's really, really, really skinny. She's really small boned. So I feel like I may be able to outstrength her if we ever clinch up. So I feel good.
And that's an advantage that I think you have as well. And your striking is on another level. And when you get into the mixed martial arts game, it really shines and it shows. Now, for people that don't know, with the legacy or the glory that now that we have legacy with the kickboxing on Access TV, where we have all of our Friday night fights, which I don't miss. I can promise you that. Now, Andrew, you're one of the fan favorites. I mean, people, especially social media, they really love you, and they're looking forward to this fight. Is there anything in particular on this fight that is you concerned for? Did you train specifically for anything with this opponent, or are you just going at it like Bruce Lee and flowing like water?
Well, I definitely want to go in like Bruce Lee and definitely flow like water. The things that I've worked on is just my timing and working on faster kicks, faster punches. I have heavy hands and I have heavy, hard kicks. So the only thing that I need to work on is just my quickness. I just need to work on my speed because I know she's got speed.
Yeah.
I don't think she really hits hard, but she throws a lot. She throws in a lot, punches and bunches. So. And kicks in bunches too, so that's just the only I have to worry about. I don't want her to outpoint me. I'm going in. I want to finish this fight. I want to finish her. So just
So
and checking and block.
yeah, definitely. And when you're getting into the striking aspect, which I have a little bit of background on that, but what I would say is, does she come in with wide shots? Is it something you're going to be able to step in the middle and throw straight down the pipe? Are you looking to counter, check hook? Are you looking? Is there something that you see a weakness in her game? Because coming in with punches and bunches, a lot of times leaves you wide open for the counter shot, and you have big power in your hands. That was you underestimated that when you said you have power. You have big power in your hands, big power.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I will definitely be working a lot of counters in this fight, working straight shots because she's not very. She's also a boxer. I mean, she's got a background in boxing, so I mean, I don't think that her boxing skill is as good as mine. I don't feel like she has as good a head movement as I do. I feel like my countering's much better. I love to make my opponent slip, so I can work towards the body or something. You know, I mean, I love the body. So, I mean, if she's going to come in swinging, and I hope she doesn't watch this, but I plan on slowing her down to the body with my body shots or kicks to the body. So, because that'll definitely take your legs away.
Oh, beyond a doubt. And you know what? One of the most underutilized weapons in MMA anyways is the jab. You know, that's something that I noticed that you step into that jab, you got weight behind the jab, and it opens everything up. And is that something that you really work on, or it just kind of come natural for you?
No, it is something that I work on. My coach, my husband, you know, he preaches, you know, you want to have a strong jab. Anytime that you throw a jab, it better have something behind it. You don't want to just throw it out there for looks. You know, if you throw the jab, you want to land it and you want to hurt them with it. You want your opponent to fear that jab, and it does open everything else up. Everything else will come if you have a really good jab. Keep it in their face, you know.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, listen, Andrea, I know that I know you know, and I know too. The liver is just something that until somebody has been hit to the liver, they really don't understand what that does to your body. It shuts down. You just don't have the ability to do anything. And so the other underutilized weapon, in my opinion, is the body. And that's something that you're speaking to, and that excites me, because as a purist, you know, we're talking about jabs, we're talking about check hooks, we're talking about shots to the body. That's what wins fights. That's what takes away the spirit and the will of your opponent.
Does.
And you've worked on that, and I've watched your fights, and I think that is probably your mental power. You really have a mental game that you go in there with that is strong, and you seem to be a little more stronger than everyone else mentally. And I'm curious, is that something that you were born with? Did you learn that over years of practice, or was that something that you actually were born with? Have you always been that mentally strong?
That's a tough question. I mean, I feel like I've always been very mentally strong.
From interview to cage, interview to ring, it's extremely impressive. I mean, you know, is there something, do you feel the difference when you walk in there? Because I see it. I see it in your eyes, see it in your face. Is there a switch that flips?
Yes, there is. I mean, you have to have a switch, you know, if you're going to be in the sport. I mean, like, as soon as I start walking out, that switch has flipped, you know. Once I step into the ring, all I'm thinking about is winning, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. So, no mercy.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you either use that adrenaline, that fight or flight, as a weapon, or it becomes an opponent for you. Is that something that?
Adrenaline?
Yeah. The adrenaline, that fear, that anticipation. Is that something that you had to learn to get a hold of and use it as a weapon, or is that something that naturally you're just so competitive that you get to that point, it's time to fight?
I guess it kind of came natural. I mean, in the beginning, my adrenaline did kind of take a hold of me. It's always helped me though, but I've had to learn to control it that way that I don't get so amped up. So I really try to make sure that it doesn't take over me. I normally try to sleep before my fights. Like, I'll be in the back sleeping and relaxing because I don't want to think about it, and I like to be calm whenever I step into the cage. You know, I mean, I'm ready, but I want to be calm because I don't want my emotions to get the best of me, because I need to be able to think when I'm fighting. You know, I want to be in the zone, and I want to know what it is that I'm doing, and I want to remember everything that I'm doing after I've already had the fight, after I've won the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to say one.
Yeah, well, I would say that too, Andrea. When you get in there, do you have a certain plan, or does it just kind of come naturally, as though the fight starts and you go where the fight takes you, or do you game plan? A lot of fighters game plan, a lot of fighters don't. A lot of fighters go in there and they know what they're going to do. They don't worry about the opponent's abilities. Is that something that you could speak to?
We always have a game plan. You know, we always prepare. We always look up footage on our opponent. We try to see the little habits that they make, and, you know, we try to prepare for that. You know, I don't want to just go in there blindly. I want to know what, you know, my opponent's weaknesses are, and I want to know what their strengths are, because I want to play to their weakness, you know. I know, and obviously, you know, you never want your opponent to have the upper hand. I don't want mine to have the upper hand. So we do work out a game plan before every fight. And, you know, and my main goal is to go in there and never get hit. I want to have that. I want to have that amazing head. You know, I want to have that head movement nobody else has. Not many girls have it. They go in there with their head on a flagpole, you know, and they just like to eat shots. I want to be the one at the end of the fight that doesn't have a mark on me, you know. If I'm bruised and bloody at the end of the fight, then I feel like I did terrible. Even if I won it, I feel like, you know, I did something wrong. I wasn't moving my head.
Yep.
So, you know, my game plan's normally to, you know, move my head and make sure that I'm taking angles and doing everything correctly.
Well, that is the sweet science. And that's, you have, it sounds so much like a boxer's background. Where did you start with your career and your fighting? Was it boxing? Is that where you got your start?
I did actually start boxing. I started out wanting to be an MMA fighter because I'd been hearing about this cage fighting, and I was like, that sounds so cool. You know, I didn't know much about it. It was new to me, you know, and I had a friend that was talking about they had a fight coming up, and they were going to be fighting in a cage, and I'm like, you're fighting in a cage? I was like, that sounds interesting. It sounds like something I'd want to do. And when I met Donnie, you know, he talked me into taking baby steps. So he started me out with boxing. He wanted me to have boxing first, and then go into kickboxing, and then jiu-jitsu tournaments, and then work my way into the ring. He wanted me to be a well-rounded fighter. So, and that's the way we approached it.
And it worked. And it worked because you are a well-rounded fighter. But see, the whole point for me, when you have someone that is concerned about their head movement and understanding the fact that the game is to hit and not get hit.
Right.
You know, listen, the very best in the game, I mean, I don't want to throw names out like Ronda Rousey, but I could and say there's really not much head movement there. There's a whole lot of coming forward and eating a lot of punches. Yeah. So it's about cutting angles and footwork. And is that something that, obviously, I mean, if you started in boxing, you had to learn to move your feet. If your feet aren't moving, you're in trouble. Do you feel that you have an advantage against other people because of that, the footwork, and because of the coming from a boxing background?
Most definitely. I feel like that's helped me out a lot. You know, because I see so many girls, amateurs and in pros. I mean, like, they never just take the time to work on the head movement and their angles. They just come in and back, in and out, in and out. You know, they're always moving forward or they're moving straight backwards. You know, taking angles is extremely important. I mean, that's the only way that you're really going to be a great fighter. I feel like that's the only way that I'm ever going to be number one. You know, I mean, you got to have head movement, and you got to have all the skills that men have. You know, I mean, men normally are good at moving their head and taking angles. You know, so I mean, you want to be a fighter, you need to fight like a man. So.
And you do, Andrea, you do. And you know, the great thing about pushing somebody back is their feet stop moving and their head goes back, and what happens?
Their chin's up.
Yeah. And hey, and that's it. And I know you understand that. I've seen it. Now, I know the fans are screaming out for a fight because I'm getting hit with this all the time, and it's against Maureen Reardon. Now, I have to ask you, and if you're uncomfortable, you don't have to say, but is this a fight that you'd really like to have? Because the fans would love to see this fight. This is something I've been hearing about for since I announced that you were going to be on the show. I've been getting hit with this. Reardon.
I've been hearing it too. You know, a stand-up fighter. She's a really good stand-up fighter, and I think that it would be a great matchup. I'm down to fight whoever Invicta wants me to fight, and if the fans are excited about seeing me and her fight, I would gladly take that fight. I have nothing against Reardon. She's a good fighter. You know, I mean, just because she's lost a couple fights already, that doesn't mean that she's not a great fighter. I feel like it would be a good matchup for the both of us.
And you know what? That's it though. That's it, Andrea, because it is a good matchup, and her striking skills are what make the matchup strong and what make it important. But I've got to say that I think, I mean, maybe I'm partial, right? But I really see your skills, stand-up skills, just a notch above everybody else. And, you know, I was at Invicta 12. I watched the fights go down there, and I couldn't help but think in my mind, you know what, Andrea, if she was in the cage there, I think we'd be seeing someone else that would be raising their hand. I'm excited to see you fight. I would love to see you get in there with Reardon, because as a fan, that's a fight I want to see. It's going to be a slugfest. It's not going to be a boring fight. You've got two fighters that want to finish the fight. And that's one thing that you do. You don't go in there to do anything but finish the fight. And, you know, can you speak to the mindset of going in the cage and trying to finish versus counting on the judges or point fighting or anything like that?
Well, you never want to leave the fight in the judge's hands. I mean, you can always expect them, you know, I mean, even if you think that you won the fight, they could choose the other fighter. You know, you never know what it is that they're looking for, you know, to decide who won. I always want to go in there and try to finish my opponent. I don't want to just outpoint my opponent. I'm not big on that. You know, a finish is what gets you seen. It's what gets you recognized. Did you hear that last part?
Yes, I did. And you know what, Andrea, you're exactly right, because the finish is what gets you seen and recognized. But more than that, that's what the fans love. And that's what brings you to the table. That's where you're separated from other fighters, that you are extremely talented at striking. Your base is strong. And you're fighting, the fight coming up, you know, it's a kickboxing match. You're a striker. And, I mean, that says it all. For me, anyways, I'm looking forward to that fight. I really want to see that fight. What do you got to say about that one coming up as far as your training? How's it been going? How are you feeling health-wise? You know, is there anything special you've done for training for this fight?
I feel very healthy. My weight cut is going well. I haven't, you know, I'll start in the next week. That's when I'll crack down on it. But I've just been working mostly kickboxing. I can't throw elbows, so we've been working less elbows, and I'm sad about that. But you know, it is kickboxing. It's not Muay Thai. So we've been working straight kickboxing for the past couple months, just trying to get ready for Lindsey Marino. That's the girl that I'm fighting. She's a top 10 in the world for a kickboxer. For the 125 weight class in kickboxing, and I'm excited. I think that, you know, it's going to be a really, really good matchup. If I beat her, that obviously means that I should move into the top 10 on my first fight. So that's what I'm shooting for. You know, I want to finish her. I don't want to leave it in the hands of the judges, because, you know, like you were talking about, because she is top 10 in the world, you know, the judges may favor her. So, you know, I'm going in there to finish.
That is true, and not even just that. I mean, you know, you're in there and you're entertaining. And as a fan, again, I've got to say, you're always going to gravitate towards those fighters that are in there giving everything they've got and trying to finish the fight. And the one thing I could say about you, Andrea, watching your fights, is you are entertaining. You are someone that leaves it all in the cage. You give everything you've got. And that's what, for me, that's what is so attractive, watching you fight and compete. And that's why I personally want to see you in the cage in Invicta fighting Reardon. because it's going to be an insane fight. It's going to be a great fight, and I would love to see it. But I can't wait to watch this one on Access TV. I don't ever miss anything on Access TV. You'll actually have Michael Chavello calling the fights. And hey, listen, if you can cut her open really big, you'll hear him say, "Call the Red Cross. She's making a donation," right? So, man.
His lines.
Yeah. You know what? I'm so looking forward to it. And it's been an honor for me to speak to you because you're exactly the type of fighter that I really respect. You go in there, there's no excuses. It is exactly what it is. You're going to lay it all on the line, and you come from a striking background. Thank you for that. I love that. So, Andrea, is there anyone and shout outs that you'd like to give to your sponsors, your coaches, your friends, your family?
Yes, there is actually. I'd like to thank my sponsors. You know, they help make it easy for me to train every day. Without them, I wouldn't be able to even do this. So I'd like to thank Fizz Kids by Carbonation Toys, Champion Nutrition, Cash Time. I'd like to thank Amber Sports and Karate Mafia, Health and Gracie. I'd also like to thank my coaches who helped train me. Obviously, my husband, Donnie Aaron, my wrestling coach, Dustin Burton, Brent Mason, Mark Peters, Jake DeMint, everybody that's ever worked with me, all of my teammates, and from Karate Mafia and Elite Combat. So I just want to say thank you so much. Also, I gotta give a shout out to my buddy Andy Wynn. You know, she's been helping me train, and she's gotten amazingly better since she's been with us. So I'm excited to see her. She too is fighting on this legacy card. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's it. So thank you guys, and thank you LUB-MMA. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Aaron. Really appreciate it.
You know what, Andrea? Listen, it was my honor and my pleasure. And what I want to get from you right now is a commitment after you win this fight that I get the next interview with you.
Certainly. I'd love to interview with you again. I had fun. This was great.
Thank you so much. Everybody, man, Andrea Lee, KGB, awesome.